No, there wasn't Siri. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the second part of our live stream on AM Rockland today. It is May 21st at 8:51 a.m. and it is quite rainy out there. I hope you all are commuting very safely to work. We also have my friend and colleague Mike Kluger here.
Welcome, and thank you for tuning into Rockland News.
Yeah, and you can catch all the news that matters to you most at rocklandnews.com. We post approximately 30 stories a week, and you can catch these live streams at amrockland.com. We're very happy to have our first guest on the live show. And like I mentioned, we want elected officials to be able to hop on and let us know what's happening in their neck of the woods. Haverstraw Mayor Mike Kohut, thank you for being on Rockland News, the AM Rockland show today.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here, Tom. How you doing today?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good.
So there's some, there's some updates about the ferry. You mentioned, I think you were putting some material out there yesterday. So I think the MTA, they put out the schedule or?
Yes. So they finally officially committed to summer weekend schedule for the Haverstraw-Ossining ferry. So it begins this weekend. It's going to run Saturdays and Sundays from Memorial Day weekend through Columbus Day weekend, which is Sunday, October 12th. So we'll have a full schedule. I believe it runs from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. or thereabouts, pretty much on the hour. And as I said, it brings folks from Haverstraw to Ossining and vice versa, Ossining to Haverstraw, and it's a huge boon for Haverstraw. It will bring folks over here to go into the downtown, to go to points beyond, grab an Uber or bring their bicycles. And
Exactly. Yep.
Right. And go into other parts of Rockland. And in connection with the ferry, Rockland County will again be running a shuttle or a bus, one of their tour buses, from the ferry through the downtown up to Garner Arts, down to
okay.
It goes down to the Palisades Mall, and then it goes into Nyack, and then return trips to Haverstraw. So that's their contribution to getting people from New York City, Westchester, and beyond over into Rockland to enjoy everything Rockland has. So that's great to get people here. And then, of course, the reverse is also true, that folks from Haverstraw and Rockland can easily get over to Westchester and take the Metro North, well, either to stay in Ossining or to take the Metro north to Beacon, Poughkeepsie, points beyond, or south into the city. So it's great for everybody.
So it comes back to, it's almost like a like alternative to your driving, because obviously you pop in the car and it's a pain in the wazoo, traffic and everything. So the ferry comes over, and then transportation and the Garner Arts Center, and they just had their Garner Arts Festival this past weekend. So there's now a connection from the ferry, transportation from the bus from Rockland all the way over to Garnerville now.
Yes, there will be. Absolutely.
That's cool.
Now, I know from many past meetings that, Mike, this did not just come out of the blue. You've been working on this for over a decade.
Yeah, we've been pushing and pushing for years. It was one of our proposed pilot projects with our DRI, Downtown Revitalization Initiative. Haverstraw and Ossining, which won at the same time, were willing to co-sponsor a pilot program with the Metro North to do this exact thing, weekend ferry service. But the DRI, the state, actually turned that proposal down. But I think they knew something was coming anyway, and that's why they turned it down. So with the advent of congestion pricing last year, they started a pilot program last year and found that it was, hugely successful. They averaged 320 trips a weekend, 320 passengers a weekend, and they had a high one-day count, they said, of 800 passengers on July 21st last year. So they saw the benefit of getting people, because once you go, if you're coming from Haverstraw and you get over to Ossining, chances are you're getting on the train. So not only are you paying the ferry fare, but you're paying the Metro North fare, and Metro North is all about ridership. And so it was advantageous to them. So again, it took longer than we wanted to get the commitment to weekend ferry service this year, but we got it yesterday, and we're very happy about it.
Well, speaking from all the citizens of Rockland, I appreciate this because
Yeah.
I was just talking to Tom earlier today about how everything gets congested around here. There's
Yep.
only one or two ways in to North Rockland specifically.
For sure.
And using this, it's going to be a boon for the entire county.
Right. And imagine if you're a Yankee fan, how nice it would be to take
Ah,
the ferry over and take the train right down there and not have to worry about parking in the Bronx or anything else. And if you had a few beers down at the stadium,
yeah,
then you can sober up on the way back. So
can absolutely. I'm sorry, that was just instinct on my part because I grew up for the first 7 years in Queens, and I'm at my heart, I'm a Mets fan, but I will root for the Yankees for real. I will.
Yeah,
Anything in New York,
my
pretty
family's
much.
all Yankees fans. So.
Oh, all right, fine.
So,
but yeah,
the difference between us, Tom.
well, no, I mean, we hit the ball game like about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We just like snuck away on a Wednesday and just tailgate, have a few beers, go in. It's a good game,
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
So, is the Village of Haverstraw planning any events that the citizens can know about, or is there any way other than going to Rockland News
nice, thank you,
to find out about what's going on in Haverstraw and how the ferry can be most beneficial to them, other than hey, you can just go here. What's going on?
Yeah.
Well, we have a few events going on. Either the village or other groups have things going on, health fairs and stuff like that. We of course have Eats and Beats, our food crawl in September, which brings a lot of people over from the other side of the river via the ferry, and we'll have the shuttles that bring you right into the downtown. One of the things, Mike, that we wanted was for early acknowledgement of the ferry this year, so that we could plan more things. You don't want to plan, say, a street fair and not be able to bring people here via the ferry. And Haverstraw and Ossining wanted to work together to plan things on both sides of the river to attract the other side's customers. But we met way back in, I guess it was last summer or fall, and started talking about it. But nobody wanted to commit to these things unless we were sure of the ferry's availability.
Yeah.
Ossining certainly has things on Friday nights. They have a music festival on Friday nights. We have Dancing Under the Stars a few times through the summer, 3 times through the summer, but those are on Fridays. But Saturdays and Sundays, we really couldn't plan on those crowds because we didn't know if the ferry was happening.
Right.
As we become more sure of it, we're going to start planning more events and try to get things, even if we just throw together a restaurant weekend or something to entice people over here. So
now,
it's a work in progress.
Is there a communication between the government's Village of Haverstraw and Ossining? I imagine as the event dates come out, like for instance, the Eats and Beats is on some. I'm just looking at their website.
September 14th, I think it is.
Yes, sir. Yep. Is there a communication back and forth, like coordinating different dates? How does that work?
Well, it's not so much between the municipalities as it is between their Chamber of Commerce and, say, our Haverstraw Riverwide Arts Organization.
Gotcha.
Because they're the promoters, let's say. They're the feet on the ground trying to make these things happen. So they get us the information, or we get them the information that way.
Yeah, makes logical sense.
I know Tom just talked about Ossining, but going back to focusing on Rockland, I know you reach out to all the other county officials. Has there been any conversations with, say, Nyack or Suffern? Because we're really trying to route people through Haverstraw, but it's to get the access to Rockland. I mean, I am from the Village of Haverstraw, and I would like them to come and stay and do their stuff here. But we also have, like, the Nyack Street Fair is almost famous now.
Right.
So.
Sure. Yeah. Well, again, we do have the county tour bus that will take people to Garnival, West Nyack, and Nyack, so that the river towns are sort of covered. But I don't think at this point there's nothing to get people to the western part of the county. But it doesn't mean, for example, if the Suffern Street Fair folks wanted to advertise to come via the ferry and then get a shuttle bus that they sponsored or ran from Haverstraw to Suffern, listen, I'm all for it, because it still brings people into the village and they get to know more about the village.
Yeah.
But right now it's sort of concentrated on the river villages.
how long does the process for the MTA getting their schedule out? And there was that, I obviously checking out the different Facebook groups and everything. There's a little bit of blowback on like the earliness of like one of the, because I think that like sometimes the ferry can run like until later, but I think the latest one was like 6 o'clock or 6:30 or something. How long does the process take for on the MTA's side for putting out the new ferry schedule? Is it like months? Do they do studies, or do they just like, yeah?
Tom, I wish I knew the answer because I wished it would have run somewhat later, even if it started later, even if it started at 11 and ran
Yeah.
till say 9. Um, I think that would have been good, but they didn't. We weren't included in those discussions. I'm hoping that a second year under their belt this year will sort of let them hone in better on times and take what they should do is survey the riders and say, when would you like it to run?
Yeah, absolutely. I know
So
not
maybe
money.
that's something for this year.
Money, of course. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And to circle back to what Tom and I love most, nightlife and music, right?
Yeah.
We
Right.
could get the ferry to go later.
Right.
Those venues that we have in Rockland, whether we're talking about Boulder Stadium or any of the local pubs and all that who want to do live entertainment,
Right.
we can get that
Sure.
developed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, I agree with you. But it's a money operation, and it's butts in the seat. So
Right.
so they go for the greatest common denominator, and sort of the periphery doesn't often can't be counted because it's a money operation. So I understand it, but it is frustrating.
Yeah.
If a company had an event that they wanted to do, how would they go about? How many butts in the seats do they need to guarantee?
That's a good question.
To get
It's
the ferry
like,
to run again. Because if you then you're like, hey, I need the ferry to show up at 10:30 because my concert's going to let out at 10. I'm going to get 35 people back here because they bought tickets.
well, Magda and I, we were talking about that last night, and she mentioned to me, like, and she came up with this cool idea for Rockland Music Fest, and that's happening on September 27th. But basically, she was like, well, why don't you get see if you can, obviously the powers that be that handle the ferry, see if you could get a late night ferry happening so that they could go to the festival and then come back. I said, and immediately I jumped in. I was like, yeah, but think about the logistics. You got to get the bus, you got to get the ferry, and the timing.
So how do we do that?
Right, like how?
There's an office in Metro North. And don't ask me the name of it right now because I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
But that could handle that. It's a money issue. The ferry itself, New York Waterways, is contracted for example, for that whatever the scheduled time is to have the boat captain and one aide on the ferry.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to run later, I imagine it's the cost of how many hours times the marked up cost of those two labor individuals, plus cost of fuel and stuff like that. So
Right.
I don't know what it is. I know in the past when we talked about having the ferry for a day, say, it was like, if the number in my head is correct, it was like $8,000 for the day or like $15,000 for the weekend.
Gotcha. Okay.
To hire them privately.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
extrapolate that or break that down and you could sort of figure it out.
Yeah, I mean that's a good starting point for me because it's obviously it wouldn't make sense this year for the Rockland Music Fest, and it's going to be amazing. Mike, I haven't told you, actually both of you, Mike. It's like 10 bands. We got a headliner is Magical Mystery Doors, and they play Doors, Beatles, and Led Zeppelin music. So
good. Sounds like a lot of fun.
I sold out a little bit. I just it's a tribute band, but like the show that they put on is unbelievable. But I mean, I might need your advice next year, Mayor Mike, about this. Those are good starting numbers, and if we can work it out, we could bring in some tourism from Ossining,
right?
Maybe next year for at least for the Rockland Music Fest. But for the Haverstraw, for the Eats and Beats, that's already a done deal, right? In other words, like the ferry's going to be running all day for that event.
Yes, it will, and they'll have in the past the ferries have been pretty loaded, so we have the county bus will operate, and we'll probably also have additional shuttles to get folks from point A to point B, since they may not all fit on one bus. So we'll have our own shuttles operating as well.
Awesome. Well, Mayor Mike Kohut, Village of Haverstraw, we know you work tirelessly. Before you hopped on the show, just so you know, Mike and I were gabbing on the previous part, and I mentioned that during the holidays in Haverstraw, the lights didn't go on, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The lights didn't go on, and all of a sudden I saw a blur from the left-hand side just coming over and just working with the guys to make sure that everything, 30 seconds, bing, bang, boom, is back up.
And I remember during the food crawl, you literally taking out the trash. This is the mayor that takes out the trash, folks.
I mean,
well, you got to get things done. You got to get things done, and you shouldn't be afraid to help your staff out. So
there was an episode of a show, I won't name the show, but it was like, just testing out if business persons are willing to do what it takes in order to get the job done. And the one that won, actually, he found like there was missing golf signs, like those what do you call it, the lawn signs, the golf lawn signs.
Yep.
So the one that won, his name was Bill. I forget what his last name was, but Bill, basically, he went into like the big garbage receptacles, and he found the lawn signs, and he was like, all right, clean these up, distribute them, and make sure it's working. He was the one that won that. So, there you
go.
Well, it is a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for being you're the first one on AM Rocklands, from our elected officials. So that is, I think that's a really good, local hometown way of kicking this thing off. I'm actually going to use this cheesy media thing.
We appreciate you, Mike Kohut.
All right. I know that was awkward, but just thank you for being on the show. Stop. Wait, just stop. All right. Okay, we're going to stop that.
No, thank you for all your tireless work.
Yes.
I know you've been working on this very thing for, again, over a decade.
Yeah.
And I can't see how it can't help Rockland and Haverstraw.
Absolutely. I agree completely.
All right.
Great.
Well, have
and
a great
anytime you want me back on, just let me know.
You got it. Have a great rest
Thank
of the
you.
week. We'll talk
All
soon.
right. Stay well. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody, we're going to take a short break and recalibrate. Our next guest is Dave Ziegler. He is an AI trainer. And if you caught the first part of our episode on
I'm scared of AI.
So Dave is going to school us, and he's going to basically teach us what AI is, and he's an amazing, brilliant person.
I will not be afraid of AI when he's done talking. Although I feel like I'm going to be more Sarah Connor, not less.
Well, maybe I will be more afraid, and that sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. It's just charge up the hill, tip of the spear, AM Rocklands, So anyway,
where do you find AM Rockland at?
You can go to amrockland.com, and you can catch all the previous live streams. They're not live streams because they're live, they're raw, they're unedited. They are live streams, and you can catch those over there. Available.
And search for Rockland News.
Yeah.
Search for Rockland News.
Rocklandnews.com. All the news that matters to you most at rocklandnews.com.
Especially if you're from Rockland.
And we also post regularly podcasts with very interesting people, such as Mayor Mike Kohut, and a variety of elected officials, musicians, creators, the people in Rocklands that make this place a great place to live. So on behalf of Tom Osa and
Mike Kluger,
thanks for being on the show today, and we'll catch you in just a few minutes with our next guest, Dave Ziegler.
And one more big thanks to Mike Kohut for coming on and talking with us. He works so hard. And
he does, yeah. So
thanks again, Mike.
All right, awesome, Maz.